Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. So I did a video a while ago sharing with you number one reason why you tend to self-doubt your trans identity and what tends to cause it. And I'm going to link it below as well, especially if you fall in the category of people age 40 and up. And this video is a sequence to that video where I'll be sharing with you what you can do to help you break that cycle. In that other video, I talked about the idea of compounding effect and how you have compounded over the years accumulation of self-coping techniques, even though they've been in the midst of suffering, as well as you have compounded a lot of other things, your relationship, for example, your family, your loved ones, maybe you even have children. As well, you also have compounded your own self-doubt and constantly questioning yourself and convincing yourself that if you've been living with gender dysphoria for this long, then you can live with gender dysphoria for that long. So it is hard for us, as I said in that video, it's very difficult for us as humans to let go of something that we have invested time and energy in. And this is something that you have invested time and energy in, and this is why it's so difficult for you to let go. Part of you recognizes that what you invested is not really healthy, it's not really helpful, it's not really moving you forward to be much more happy and living an enjoyable life and be living up to your potential and being in tune with who you are and being your authentic true self. Part of you knows that, but part of you has a hard time giving it up because you're afraid you might lose all of this that you accumulated over here. And primarily, you're very afraid you might lose family and friends and your relationship and your kids and everything else that really you tend to value and hold very, very dear to yourself. Well, here's how you can break out of that cycle. For starters, what you can do is you can recognize that what you truly compounded here is not really something that is serving you. It is something that is slowly and slowly eating and chipping away at yourself every single day. It is something that causes you a lot of issues, including depression and anxiety. And as a result, all of the things you're afraid to lose, your family and your loved ones and your partners, they all can feel that. People can feel that something is going on with us. Trust me, if you're in a relationship, I guarantee you, your partner can feel something is going on with you. They can feel the distance because guess what? As a result of gender dysphoria, you will tend to withdraw more. You will tend to isolate more. You won't be your true self. As a result, your partner won't experience you as a true self. And as a result, the distance is going to be created. And then you know what usually happens is that the partners start coming up with their own reasons why you're isolating and you're withdrawing. And so it becomes a vicious cycle that doesn't serve anybody. In addition, your kids can feel the same distance. It's all of the things people really pick up on and they can really, really feel. So while you're holding on to your compounding interest here and you think you're holding on to something that is you valuing and has tremendous value, and while it does have value, it also doesn't really have it. It's almost like nutrition, right? It's almost like you're having here a burger and it will satisfy you, but it won't have the nutrients you need. It's nutrients empty because you're not being yourself, because you're not exchanging yourself with your family. You're not giving back in the same value. You're not giving them those nutrients that they need. You're not giving your partners the nutrients that they need. And that becomes really essential. Your partners can feel it. So while you may have a marriage, ask yourself, is it a solid, good, happy marriage? And I'm going to challenge you. If you're experiencing gender dysphoria and you've been experiencing it for years, and if you're waking up every day next to your partner, and the first thing you ask yourself is that, am I transgender? What the hell am I doing with my life? Chances are you're robbing yourself and your partner from potentially having a happy marriage. Chances are you probably don't really have quote-unquote happy marriage, because how can you if you're not being yourself? It is very important to be ourselves in our marriages, and so it's very important to be true to who we are. So that's the first thing you can do, is realize that this compounded interest you have, to really ask yourself, what I perceive as value, is it truly valuable? What I perceive as really dear and important to me, and yes, some of it is going to be important and dear. Your kids are, and your partner, and your family, and your friends are important and dear to you. You have to also ask what that has been built on. And chances are you're going to realize that the connection between those two has been lacking in some kind of value because you haven't been true to yourself. And the truth is, once you come out and once you become true to yourself, you have opportunity to give back in value. You have opportunity to solidify those connections. Yes, people still lose loved ones. Yes, those things still happen, but not for everybody. But living this way, you're robbing your loved ones of an opportunity to really know who you are. And that's very, very important. So again, part of the breaking out that cycle is to recognize what is it that we're holding on here. Another thing that people tend to hold on to over here is that they tell themselves that, well, I've been coping with this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I can just continue coping this until the rest of my life. But then sit down and ask yourself, what coping taken away from you? Chances are you've been coping in the most unhealthy ways, and chances are that coping has been slowly affecting other areas of your life. And you could have been unhealthy coping with gender dysphoria by drinking, maybe other types of addictions, maybe food addiction, maybe drug addiction, maybe shopping or gambling addiction. You may have been coping by constantly withdrawing and isolating, as I mentioned before. You may be coping by avoidance, maybe playing a lot of video games, maybe just going for a long, excruciating exercising, hoping you can run out of the anxiety, throwing yourself into work, working too much, taking on too many projects. So ask yourself, all of this coping you have done, what other areas of your life they have affected? The chances are when we cope in most unhealthy ways, that starts to affect other parts of our family. It starts to affect our relationship. It starts to affect how much can we be present for our loved ones. It starts to have an effect whether we can truly do a project to its full potential while we're just using it to cover up our gender dysphoria. So that's very important for you to really evaluate and to take a look at, because if you are coping, you're not coping in a healthy ways, because the healthy way to cope with gender dysphoria is to seek medical treatment that is necessary for it. That's a healthy way, or at the very least, to start talking to somebody and expressing how you feel about it. Now, transition is not for everybody. Not everybody chooses to go through gender transition, and that's fine. But even talking about it and starting to explore your sense of who you are is a healthier way of coping than putting it aside, putting a lid on it, and telling yourself out of sight, out of mind, it's not there. So start exploring every single aspect of your compound interest. Coping, family, connections, and everything else that might be over here that you're holding on to. And ask yourself, what is it really I'm holding on to? Is this really serving me, or is this not serving me? Is it helping me, or is it not helping me? Is it keeping me healthy, or is this keeping me unhealthy? And once you're going to start realizing how actually what you see is really not a benefit to you at all, you're going to be more likely and more willing to let this go. Because you're no longer going to look at it as something you're going to lose. You're going to look at it as something necessary to walk away from. This is very analogous to everything else in our lives. We sometimes compound things in our lives that are not healthy for us. Think about toxic relationship, for example. We compound time and how long we've been in a toxic relationship, and we don't want to walk away from it because we've been married to a toxic person for 5, 10, 20 years. We don't want to walk away from it. But when we start realizing how being married to somebody toxic really affects us, we realize that we haven't really compounded anything here. And that, in fact, it's easier to give this away and walk away from it. So that's what you really need to do. You need to start evaluating, what do you have out here? Is it helping me or not helping me? Chances are, I promise you, it's not going to be helping you. And that's the first thing you can do to start breaking out of that cycle. Let me know below, comment below. Tell me about what's a new compounding interest bank account. Share with me, what is it that you're afraid to let go? And why do you think it is so important, and whether it truly is valuable in a sense of you also being able to give authentic value back? I'd love to hear you comment. Let me know how you also, in your own way, if you moved away from that cycle, how did you do it? How did you break that cycle for yourself? I'm sure that a lot of other people would love to hear that as well and learn from your comments below. So comment below, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.